to be a part of this webinar. I see a couple people have called in via the phone. I have some folks here joining via the online version here. My name is Cosmo Fujiyama. I am the Managing Director at the Center for Social Impact Strategy. And this is my last webinar. I've been running all the webinars for the program, and I'm kind of sad this will be the last one I do for the executive program. Thanks for joining and signing up whenever you and however you heard about the program. I'm excited to speak to people passionate about their personal growth and their professional growth and where they want to go. My goal of this meeting that we have is threefold. One is to get the opportunity to share with you a little bit more about the executive program. What is the Center for Social Impact Strategy? Giving a little bit of context to our work. I also want to answer 7 frequently asked questions. I really am one of the founders of the center and the executive program itself, which means I know what questions frequently come up and also where we hope to be able to clarify anything for you. So I've curated a list of 7 based on the frequency, but if you have any questions, I want to answer them on this webinar to make the most of your time. Feel free to use the chat, the Q&A bar, ask me questions throughout, and I'm going to get to all of them. Finally, the third part of this time together is about alumni, sharing stories of the people that inspire me, that have been a part of our community, and hopefully give you a sense of the dynamic diversity that is a part of the executive program. So to get started, a couple things. I want to make this interactive. I want you to be able to ask your questions or share comments with me directly in the chat. You can also use the Q&A section, which is on your toggle bar, to send me a question directly, and I'll speak it or answer it via typing and let you know the responses to that. After this session, if you have any questions, you can reach me directly at Cosmo@Social Impact Strategy. So that's the objective of today. I hope that this time is valuable for you, and if I'm not getting to questions or concerns that you have, type them in, let me know, and I will make sure that we talk about it. On that note, if you could take a moment, for those of you who are joining us via the online portion, if you can in the chat share where you're calling in from and how you heard about the program, maybe a little fun fact about you or something about your work. I'd love to get a sense of who's in the room. So if you feel comfortable, and only if you do, feel free to share where you're calling in from and how you heard about the program. Welcome everyone from what has been traditionally on these webinars, all corners of the earth. And that's what's really cool about it, is the chance to connect with so many people who want to make a difference and who are trying to step forward on a journey to making the impact that you want to make, and how we can help you and support you in doing that. So awesome. I have someone coming in from Buffalo, New York, who's also an alum of Penn. So welcome, and looking forward to sharing this webinar with you. The Center for Social Impact Strategy is based at the University of Pennsylvania School of Social Policy and Practice. And what we are is that we're a research center. I like to think of us as a rebellious lab where we bring together both research and action. The questions that we ask is, how do we integrate knowledge for social good? What can we do about the immense amount of content and resources that are coming out in social impact strategy? Then how do you actually convert that to help people take action on those ideas? And that's what we're obsessed about at the center, really combining the knowledge base of the amazing faculty, the postdocs, the students that we work with, the practitioners, and being able to say, well, what are you learning about that? And how do you actually translate that knowledge to people who are making a difference on the ground and or who want to? The center's mission is to equip, train, and connect a thriving community of social innovators committed to making lasting social impact. You'll see in our mission statement, it doesn't necessarily just say to the community at Penn. For us, we want to be reaching the world. We are very globally facing, not just working with students and alum at the University of Pennsylvania who are a vital part of our community, but we also want to figure out, can we work with global leaders around the world and really create this online global school of people who believe in the systems change, who believe in social impact through business, nonprofits, social enterprise, and government, and otherwise, and really not having any walls in terms of industry, but really bringing people together. And that's what I'm passionate about as a community builder. The center for me is a place that is a school without walls for people who believe in better. And bringing people together makes us not only more efficient, it makes us smarter by bringing diverse perspectives to the table. So that's a little bit about the center. What is the executive program? And I know that's what all of you, many of you are here to learn a little bit about. And I'm going to dive into a lot of the stuff that maybe, is more anecdotal. It's coming from my experience. I've been at the center now for 3 years, since the beginning of our birth. And what we saw in the landscape of professional education was a couple things. One, people who are working are very busy, and going to graduate school may not necessarily be a privilege that they could do in that moment. We saw a huge demand for training for people who are already working that needed to have, they desired a continual learning environment. They desired communities of practice where they could actually talk to other people beyond their companies and connect ideas. We also saw a need for mentorship and coaching, opportunities for people to say, here's what I don't know. How can I figure this out? And by looking at this landscape also of other executive educational programs out there, and there's a bunch out there, we saw a need for a hybrid model that allowed for that intensity of that one-on-one and those deep connections you can build with one another, but also the reliability and the consistency and the accessibility of online training, where people can sign on from anywhere at any time and gain access to high quality instructional material. So this is how the executive program was born, to create world-class education first and foremost at the University of Pennsylvania, but also really bridge the gap around accessibility and affordability, specifically for people who want to impact the world, and not just working with an executive program for business leaders and then one for nonprofits, et cetera, but actually bringing together a network of really different people so that we can learn from each other the solutions that exist. In a nutshell, the program for me are 3 things. And these 3 things are what are absolute guarantees of the program. One, we're very tools focused. So we give you tools every single week. You log on in our online portal on Monday, where there's going to be new material released every single Monday. You can actually log on at any time in the week, but on Monday, you know that there's going to be new tools, new lectures, new videos, new audio versions of that, readings, etc. And they're all meant to help you put those ideas into action. The tools help you organize your thoughts, and then you put those ideas into action, whether you already are scaling an organization and or you're trying to test a couple different pathways or a couple different ideas you have. This program is meant to help propel you in getting more information and data as to how you can make a greater difference. And finally, the third component is about community. We are so passionate about building strong communities because that's what we think is a big missing component in social change. And we do a couple things. The cohorts that come together, that you actually will have the chance to meet everyone in person at the University of Pennsylvania. But we also help make connections. Okay, all the people coming from Philadelphia or New York, we at the very beginning of the school year help you connect with people that might have a regional affinity to you and or a stage affinity. Stage meaning you're at the same stage of your career or your venture, the questions you're asking. And then finally, industry focused in terms of, folks that are specifically working in education. Who are those folks, and helping make way and finding different members within the community that you might be able to build a powerful connection with, but also the community at large. Everybody's bought in terms of the values being driven by impact first. And a sense of positivity and action orientation is who you will find no matter where you look in our program. This is just a snapshot. I have an image here of the network. We have over 121 or 140 alums of the program, and 93% of them graduated by completing everything that is required in the 8 months. They represent 32 countries from over 66 cities, and 95% of them are saying that this program specifically led to professional and personal connections that were really important for them to expand their network. And I think one of the things that this program really speaks to is the fact that, most of our days we're spending with our colleagues at work, and then our families and our friends. And how might we actually have an experience where it stretches our network without having to necessarily start from scratch? Our community building initiative is all around building diverse communities, bringing people from very different perspectives, but with a commitment and a passion for making a social impact, and building those experiences that allow for authentic connection. And because we work with you for 8 months, I think that's why the number of students that say they've had amazing connections is really genuine, because we have a lot of time, and it's not just a quick transaction of, oh, you meet them at a conference and then that's it. It's really about conversations that are elongated over time, and that can lead to some amazing breakthroughs. People come from all different backgrounds in terms of organizations. We had people working at the United Nations and working on challenges of bringing a more creative mindset to innovation at the UN. We also had somebody coming from the city of Philadelphia working on how do they understand the needs of their communities in Philadelphia when it comes to the youth and the growing young population. We also had somebody that works in finance at Bank of America, was trying to figure out, can we figure out a system at Bank of America to make it easier for people to invest their retirable assets into charitable organizations? And he was asking these questions about that as an entrepreneur. We had folks coming from IBM and larger for-profit organizations like that, looking for ways in which they themselves could be more purpose-driven, and how do they integrate that into their careers. And these organizations are just a snapshot of the dozens of companies that support their employees in our programs. And there's also small businesses, smaller organizations that many people are running that are also using this program as a way to build in the tools that we're sharing and then bring it right back to their staff and to their teammates, which I think is an important part of helping you help your teams succeed and grow. Deepa Sharif is here on this slide. She worked in a for-profit organization for most of her career, came to our program. She was the former president of a nonprofit organization called Net Impact NYC. And she said that for her, the program gave her the support system of peers and mentors in the social impact space that will last a lifetime. And that was what was most important to her. And she's an example of someone that was figuring out how might she be more impactful in her lifetime. And in a moment of transition in her career, she was asking a couple questions about what path to take. And this experience gave her 8 months of people, peers, mentors, to push back and give her ideas, to cheerlead her, and to also give her the confidence to pursue her next step. She ended up leaving her for-profit organization and spending a year after this program traveling the world and consulting on dozens of projects around the world. And she brought a lot of the tools that she learned from our program to different social enterprises around the world, which I thought was really, really interesting. The fact that she was able to, really look at her own professional growth and figure out, she's doing a lot of different things. What can she do to bring it all together? I want to say hi to a couple of the folks here that are signing on. I see someone from Tucson, Arizona, and someone from Brazil. So thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited to read a little bit more about what you're doing and what you're really passionate about. This is Dr. Peter Famke, and I want to read a quote of what he says. He's the founder of the center, and he's a tenured faculty member at the University of Pennsylvania, and he's one of the core faculty members of this program. And his passion is social entrepreneurship and helping people birth great ideas to change the world. And here's what he says. Social impact strategy is any effort to create public value that is systematic, sustainable, and innovative. Effectively creating social impact is an essential challenge to all organizations, regardless of geography or sector. And I think this quote is so important to what we do as a University of Pennsylvania and the center, because we are teaching you, when we think about social impact strategy, it breaks down into 3 things. Is it systematic? Is it sustainable? And is it innovative? And we think about what are the strategies on being more systematic, sustainable, and innovative. How do you think about the impact it has, and can you measure it? And ultimately, is it creating public value? Is it improving the lives of people, not in a Band-Aid, but in a longer term? And the work that we strive to do is to connect a lot of the research that he's done. He's well published in this space. And really, we're trying to get that out to the world so that we can have a conversation and action around making this possible. So we really walk our walk when we talk about bringing people together regardless of geography and sector, because I think that's where some really exciting stuff is happening. We're seeing some really neat nonprofit business collaborations, government working together with social entrepreneurs. So those are the kinds of partnerships that we're also working hard to broker. So for those of you who signed in a little bit later, I just want to catch you up to speed as to where we are in this webinar. And if you would like to receive this webinar video recording after this opportunity, I'm happy to send it to you. You can send me your email in a private, if you want to send it just as a private message to the panelists, I will make sure that I get this recording to you because I see a bunch more people who have signed on. Feel free, now that you've signed on, to say a little bit in the chat where you're calling in from, how you heard about this program. I want you to know that this program, this webinar is designed into threefold. One, I just did an overview of the center, the University of Pennsylvania, and our program from the highest level. Now I'm going to be diving into 7 frequently asked questions from people that are interested in our program, because I want to talk very frankly with all of you about some of the stuff that I have a hunch that it might be also something on your mind. But as I go, and if I don't answer a question you came to the webinar about or a comment or anything, feel free to use the chat as a space for that. And I will be periodically looking in there to see if I can give voice to those questions. But I have time, plenty of time at the end of this webinar to answer your questions. So number one question I get: who are ideal applicants? You know, who are you looking for? Who are you looking to admit? First and foremost, to build community, we build values-driven communities, meaning that we look for people with certain values. We look for people who are creatively minded, innovatively hungry, curious, passionate, and they're impact-driven. These are the types of people that we're looking for in your applications and in your narrative. The fact that that's the value that you carry, that's what we select for. And then we look at what are the actions you want to take. And we have people at all sizes and spectrums in different stages. And our curriculum is actually very tailored for people based on whatever stages they're in, and we can make that possible. But we have people who want to take action on an idea, but they're not really sure how. We have people that are growing the impact of their existing companies and organizations and trying to get more serious about the strategies of making a social impact. We have people that are coming that want to make a career change. They've been working in an industry for a long time, but they want to figure out, how do I step up and make a greater impact? I've had a lot of phone calls actually in the last couple of weeks of people who are interested in figuring out what is their own impact metric and how do they make their purpose and their work aligned. I also have people who want to gain expertise and these skill sets in social impact strategy, which is becoming more and more important for so many companies and organizations and governments around the world. And they're not only looking to gain the skills, but I see a lot of people who are coming saying, I want to bring others on board. I want to be training my team, or I want to be bringing my board on board and figuring out, how do we not just do this alone, but together. People are also really ideal candidates for this program if you're looking to learn from a structured program. As I mentioned earlier, our program, on every single Monday, you get new materials from our school in your learning management system. You get new videos, you get new materials, and that metronome helps a lot of our students stay abreast, but also go through a lot of content in 8 months. We give you over 50 tools and a lot of also training and coaching from our coaches. And finally, a lot of the students, regardless of what the business challenges that they may be facing, are saying, I'm looking to get a little bit of time to personally step back and use this year as a year of learning. And I really love that, and I've been using this term, and I wonder if it resonates with any of you, but instead of a sabbatical, it's more of a do-batical, where you're in a community of people where you actually get to ask some deeper questions and you get to step back together and you reboot over 8 months. And that's been really amazing to see how this executive program is different than many others, and that we're a lot longer. We're 8 months, and we work with you with a lot of content. But in that time, there's always going to be a flow to the experiences you're having with us. You're going to be seeing new material. You're going to be trying some of these tools out in your communities. You're sharing with the colleagues online or in your local communities or in your companies as to how does that affect the way you think about the impact you want to make. And then finally, there's a lot of time to reflect. What does it mean for you and the way you want to show up in the world and the impact you want to make? So that's the who. We do accept people from all ages. We have had fellows ages 25 to 63, and we have people coming with lots of different ideas they want to test, or also very concrete business challenges that they want to solve. And our curriculum is built in a way where the content is about giving you the best knowledge out there on this stuff, but also our one-on-one model and our teaching team model allows for us to work with you based on where you're at. I want to welcome all of our callers today. I want to welcome, we have some folks calling in from North Carolina. It looks like some folks have joined from Philadelphia, and another person from Redmond, Washington. So I'm really thrilled to have all of you here joining us today. And I love the diversity. I don't even think one person is from the same city here, which says a lot about the diversity that that this kind of content is speaking to and the global school that we can be building together. So, what are the courses that I'm going to be taking? This is a question that many of you may have found out more on our website, but the way it's designed over the 8 months, we have 8 classes, of which you can take 6 to graduate with a certificate. You can take all 8 if you want to audit and be a part of all of them, no problem. But you're taking these classes, we've mapped them out based on a lot of needs assessments of social entrepreneurs and social innovators and what they thought they needed a lot more skills and refined tools in. And I'll show you this roadmap to give you a sense of that experience. There's an online orientation in January where we bring everyone together, and there's this meeting process of getting used to the platform, meeting one another, and starting to do a lot of that articulation of what are your goals for this year and how can we help you achieve them. In February, the first Monday of February, February 6th, we kick off with the strategy course, which is what Dr. Peter Frumkin teaches. We're all taking it together every Monday, again, new content, and that's how the flow works. And then after that class, you come to the University of Pennsylvania, and that's where we have our Innovation Summit for 3.5 days, where you get to meet one another, connect with your fellow classmates, and learn amazing tools in design thinking for innovation. Then you're back online for 2 short courses. One is called Community and Collaboration, which is really about understanding the abundances in our communities. And then a course on marketing, which is really about the storytelling, understanding the stories of the needs of our communities and also how to plan for communicating to get others engaged. Then we're back to a 6-week course, Business Models, taught by Susie Sosa, an amazing social entrepreneur based out of Austin, Texas. And then the program electives, and there's a slew of electives that you can choose from before the graduation ceremony. The graduation ceremony is optional. It is both live casted, live cast, and it's also in person at the university. So you can receive your certificate from the University of Pennsylvania certifying your completion of the executive program. But it's also a great chance to reunite with your colleagues, meet alumni of the program that have graduated in years previous. And this is the roadmap. This is the experience that you'll go through. And we've really tried to be intentional about both the online experience, making that dynamic, and also the in-person, making that a space for authentic connections and the opportunity to learn. So I have a question. The other question then is about online learning. You know, I don't know how many of you are new to online learning. Some of you might be even taking our Coursera class right now. But online learning, there's a lot of new stuff coming out about it, and we're excited to be iterating every single year by learning on what's really the best ways of teaching online, and also from our students that give us a lot of tips on what really works for them. So there's 5 components of all the classes, the same components, the same DNA elements go into all the courses. There's video lectures by the faculty, and you get access to weekly lectures on Monday, and they're distributed. And you can watch them at any time. You can watch them at any time during the week as you want. There's an assignment every single week as well to make sure that you can be applying the tools in your communities. And the professors will be talking about case studies and examples as well, so that it makes it's more applicable. There's curated readings. We put together an amazing set of modern readings, academic background readings, quick reads for you to start to think about the relevant topics beyond just what the faculty talk about, to really diversify that perspective. And that's also curated by some students too that have said, this has been really helpful in my life. There's also weekly video hangouts for those of you who like learning in peers. You can sign up for optional video hangouts to talk about that week's topic and or to workshop your idea. There's 2 types of hangouts that we do, one on topical understanding and the other one is on breakthrough ideas, where you get to come and say, hey, this course on strategy is really making me think about our strategic, scale strategy, and I'm really stuck. And you have, 4 to 5 people online that are helping and coaching you. That's a very peer-to-peer model. We've also actually, I want to share, I thought it was really cool. Some students like learning together on they wanted to incentivize each other to watch the videos together. So they like spent like an hour together on a Sunday, kind of being online together and watching the videos and doing the homework in a way that was more social. So I thought that was a really cool innovation from our community. And then finally, five, individualized feedback is a big part of the program. Because people are starting at different places, you have a teaching team member working with you throughout the 8 months. They're giving you feedback, they're brainstorming with you, and they're testing, they're giving you ideas on the test that you're running. It's about one-on-one as well. At any point in the program, you can sign up for a one-on-one coaching call with our coaches to just have a back and forth, just kind of, start to take the ideas and bounce them against the wall and get that support that you might need, whether it's a pick me up and, to encourage you to keep going, or if it's a little bit more critical and say, hey, here's some gaps I see, what about this idea? But that's another important part of online learning, is making it really personal and really tailored to you so that you can see the growth and the breakthroughs that you want. Now, who are the faculty? These 8 individuals are the faculty that teach the core classes. We have really tried our hardest to bring together people that have amazing backgrounds in teaching. They're excellent, phenomenal educators, and they love what they do. But a lot of them also carry a lot of professional background in what they teach. So Nadia Shamovian not only has her MBA, she teaches the course on governance, and she also worked at the Rockefeller Foundation, and she teaches a lot of other organizations on how do you build boards of governance. An amazing instructor. Peter Frumkin, if you're taking his Coursera class, you know a little bit about him and his passion on how to design, define, pilot, and scale social enterprises. We also have Susie Sosa, who's an amazing social entrepreneur who talks a lot about business models. She's had experience both supporting and mentoring businesses that want to build a more socially impactful business plan. And she's also worked with hybrid models. How do you build a successful hybrid business model? So she's an example of someone who's really on the ground, building herself a social enterprise, but also has coached a lot of organizations in her lifetime. So I love this as a demonstration of the amazing faculty that teach all the content that you'll be learning. The fifth question that I get is about the University of Pennsylvania, this event that we run. What is this event? And what's happening? And why am I coming to the University of Pennsylvania? I noticed there's a typo here. It says 2016. It is indeed 2017, March of 2017. March 28th through the 31st are the days of the program. And you arrive on the 28th. It's a Tuesday of the week. And the vision there is to have a dinner, a welcome dinner where you all come together and get to meet one another for the first time and to really get a sense of who each other are, because community building is a big part of this work. Then over the next 2.5 days, the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're really focused on a couple things. We want to focus on the methods for being innovative. What are the tools in design thinking in particular for social innovation? Not just design thinking itself, but really design thinking for social impact. We partner with an amazing design thinking firm called IDEO. Many of you may be familiar with them, but they are our peer teachers in this course, and they come with an amazing curriculum on really bringing the tools that you can use to lead culture change, to lead transformation in the work you're doing, and to really think creatively about the challenges ahead. The other component of this week is about the connections in the communities. And that's what we're really good at the center, is building communities. We have over 400 alumni of our programs globally, and community is a big part of what we invest in and know that is critical for making social change possible. There's also a lot of space and curriculum to help you build a little bit more clarity onto the impact you want to make and what are the challenges in front of you. We workshop that right there on the spot so that you can start to think about your roadmap for action. And what is your plan over the next 6 months that remain after you return home to take those ideas and move them forward? So this summit at Penn is really about hands-on training, really getting right there and getting hands-on, learning and connecting with your peers, and getting the support and feedback on your ideas so that there's what I call like instantaneous feedback from your community. And that experience will lead to the culture that we will have online for the remaining 6 months. And it's amazing to see how this week-long summit really transforms the tone of the experience. and helps create the connections that allow people to collaborate really authentically and deeply onto issues that are so, so powerful. So I see a question from the community about the amount of time it takes and the typical time commitment. So I'm going to answer that directly right now with this slide. So one, can I take this program while working full time? Absolutely. That's a question that I get quite a bit. And I believe around 95% of our students actually are working full time at the moment of taking this class, this program. What's beneficial about this program is that it's designed to help you learn at your convenience. You can do it remotely and on your schedule. Our students that have taken the program before report that they spend about 4 to 5 hours a week. And that's watching the videos, which is roughly 50 to 75 minutes of content per week. You can watch it also on 1.5 speed if you want. And there's also the readings that people do. But those 4 hours, the majority is spent on actually applying the tools in your context. We want you to be listening and learning, but also learning by doing and taking these tools back into your communities and actually starting to generate conversations with them. There's also an online discussion forum where you can be chatting with your colleagues, and there's chatter going on all the time because we have such a global program. 12 o'clock here is, 1 a.m. somewhere else, and there's an amazing opportunity for you to connect to folks. There's also an integration component where as you take these courses, you're going to be able to integrate and apply what you learn continuously over 8 months, and the progress is building on each other in terms of your knowledge base and your ability not only to know this material, but to have had experiences applying it and learning from those learnings. We hope that some of the learnings will actually stretch you out of your comfort zone, and maybe you'll try some things that don't work out. But what you have is a community that's going to keep on pushing you to keep learning, and that's a really important part. So to clarify, Mondays is when you get access to all the new content of the week. You can access that at any time as you want. And if you know in advance that there's going to be some times in your life that are busier than others, I had a student that was getting married and she was not going to be online for 2 weeks. And I was like, good for you. Please take your honeymoon and we'll see you when you come back. And that was really important for us, that this was about integrating into her life, not saturating her out of it. So people that run conferences that know every year you are just really busy that week, or if you have a life emergency, our teaching team will work with you. And we don't want you to not learn or to skim over the material because you were too busy. We want you to have value come out of every single course. And to do that, that also means it has to be on your terms. So we have 8 months to work together. And I'm really proud of our graduation rate. That means everybody completed everything in the program. And it's a great deal of work. It's rigorous, but it's all doable and it's all actionable. So it's fun. It's relevant. It's about your life and the work that you want to do to make an impact. And we also hope it's very social, that it's very fun and engaging and optimistic environment that can really pull you into a more inspirational, creative mindset to have those breakthroughs that you want. We are gaining traction here. I'm already at my last frequently asked question, and I see a couple others coming in the Q&A, so I want to get to those as well. But the last formal question that I wanted to share was, a little bit about the fees, the application, and all that. So the deadline is November 20th. That's on Sunday of this coming weekend, and the cost is $4,950. If you need a payment plan, you are welcome to make the payment plan, the payments in installments. So let me give you an example. If you are admitted to the program, the deposit is due December 20th, and that is for the University of Pennsylvania to have you enrolled as a student for next year's cohort. And then you can pay all up front in January for the program, and that's that. Or you can pay half in January and the other half in March. January 15th and March 15th. And that helps you spread out the payments a little bit if that is something of importance to you. And that's at no penalty to you. We just want to give folks the option to give a little bit more time if they need it. If you have started your application and you're wondering how to answer some of the questions, or you're thinking about what are we looking for, it's not a trick at all. We try to make it as human as possible, and we might try to make it as very, very, very direct. We want to know in the first section a little bit about your background. In the middle section is the most important. It's about your voice, your story. What is the big vision you have for making a difference? Because we want to hear that vision, the aspirational, And then also, where are you in your life right now? Why is the executive program helpful to help you tackle what you're excited about? And then finally, the resume section, which is the third part of the application, it's to get a little bit of your professional narrative. What have you done to date? What are the different skills you're bringing? This is a professional network, so we want to be able to start to understand what are the different things that you've done that you're really, really excited to share with us. But there are no tricks. We're not looking for, we don't look at test scores or anything like that. We care about what you're doing and what you want to do. This is also helpful for us because once you then, after you apply, in the registration process, we're going to ask you some more questions about what stage are you at? How are you actually tackling it now? And what kinds of resources do you need? And that's when we start to build these subgroups and help you connect with other people in the cohort that are working on the same things. I want to just point to this matrix really briefly to show you the research that we did in the executive education landscape as we designed this program. We saw a lot of programs that were week-long immersive events, and we love immersion. I mean, we have an immersive camp called the Impact House. There's something really powerful when people come together. But what makes us different is the ability for us to work together for 8 months. It's like, it's enough time for social change ideas to give it the cycle to breathe. How many of you have been to a conference and you're so excited and you're so inspired and you come home on Monday and you're like, okay, what do I do? That's not what we think learning is about. Learning is setting you up to be in a place to make it easier to take those risks that you might need or to push your thinking or your comfort level in a safe environment that allows you to share and learn from yourself, your personal experiences, and the experiences of others. And what's really important is that you don't know what you don't know. And our program has been designed to help you start to kind of tackle some of the things that you may not even know are available to you over 8 months. We do it online and we do it in person. We do hybrid because of our commitment to those interpersonal connections, but online meaning it's accessible to anyone in the world. And our program is very global. We don't want regional distance to Philly to be a barrier for entry. We want education of high quality to be available to anyone in the world. That's why we have our Coursera classes. Those are for free for anyone. We want as many change makers equipped with the skills that they need. And we're running this program at a cost-efficient rate for us to be able to have the best staff on board, but also maintain the quality and the caliber of the program. And we invest a lot of time, one-on-one time, in our efforts to really get to know you and the work you want to do, but also make it as affordable as possible, and giving all of our tools at a way in which we can be a sustainable business as well. So before I move to Jenny in that story, I want to pause and think about some of the different questions that you have here. I have a couple questions coming through. Thank you so much for asking them in the Q&A. I have a question about the following from one of the viewers here. By the end of the course, will the attendants get the University of Pennsylvania alumni status? Great question. At the end of the course, you get a certificate in completion of the executive program from the University of Pennsylvania. And by that, you are an alum of the University of Pennsylvania Center for Social Impact Strategy. Now, this is a question that's hard to answer because an alumni status, absolutely, you're an alum of the University of Pennsylvania in the executive program. But in terms of the university, when they think about alumni, they have distinctions. Executive program alumni, and they have full-time student alumni, part-time student alumni. For us, you're an alumni of the University of Pennsylvania. And you are also a participant and a graduate of the executive program in social impact strategy. What's really important here too about the alumni that I didn't get to in my presentation is that alumni get access to our network. And we have over 300 people in our online network that are exchanging ideas, giving, oh, here's a link to this fellowship, or here's a job posting about something. And there's a really active community giving to one another. That's something you get access to as an alum. You get access to also events happening at the University of Pennsylvania that are open. We are constantly curating and pulling together a calendar of things happening at the university. Some stuff is also virtual, so people can join as well. But there's a ton of amazing resources available at the University of Pennsylvania that we want to make available to you. So in that sense, our center takes care of you as an alum to make sure that you have access to resources that we have that are provided by the University of Pennsylvania. So I have another question here. How do I effectively apply the tools and do the coursework given that I'm not working currently and haven't integrated into a community locally as of yet? I moved from India less than a year ago. So this is a great question. How many of you are not 100% sure on what is the issue or the challenge that they're going to take on, but you know in your heart that there's something you want to do? We have two ways in which you can make sure that this training model is effective for you. At the beginning of the year, we help you start to clarify what is some of the challenges that you see in front of you and what would be a bold move, a bold idea on which you can embark. And then throughout the course, we're asking you a lot of questions that help you build the blueprint. And we want your idea to shift. We want your population of service to shift. We want you to be able to take this course to build an amazing blueprint that's going to take you on some dead ends and generate new ideas, but you might have a hunch that you can test. That's really important that you come to the program with a couple hunches or a couple questions that you're asking about how might we better serve, women veterans in the United States Army, or how might we engage young people, first generation college goers, and create, pathways for them to get an education and also stay in school. Whatever your hypothesis is, you can use that and use this program to build an amazing blueprint for that venture or that project that's baked inside of an existing organization to thrive. You can also choose to use this program to not have a conceptual idea, but actually consult an organization and actually say, here, to this organization that maybe you already are connected to or that you're fond of, and say, I'm taking this executive program and want to be able to apply these tools to be helpful for you. That's a really cool way that we've seen students actually use their organizations with their volunteering and to pro bono support some of the intellectual thinking around their tools with other tools that we introduce. And then finally, the other way to do it is that we also provide case studies. We give case studies of organizations in every single assignment. So if you learn by looking at other examples and you'd prefer to learn in that method, you can use one of our existing case studies of successful social enterprises and be applying those tools to them. And when I say successful, it doesn't mean that they're perfect. It means that they still need a little bit more support. So there's ways in which you can apply your thinking to an existing organization. So I have two questions, same questions from two different people. So I'm going to try to tackle this together. How many students do you have on average per class, and what is the number of average participants for the program? Great question. So in 2015 is when we started our first cohort, and that was our test pilot of 35. And then we ran another one also around 40 that year. So we had a total of 75 students in 2015. Then we realized that those two cohorts were desperate to meet each other, and we wanted to actually grow the program so that we could start with one program a year. So we had about 75 students last year in the cohort of 2015, also 2014 and 2015. And then this year, we're going to start the class with about 100 people. That's going to be our cap to grow the program and to bring more people from around the world. That is, I think, and we've been also testing and figuring out what is a community that is large enough for diversity, but also make sure that we don't lose out on the intimacy and the connections that can be possible. So as you begin the class, you'll get to meet everyone throughout those 8 months, and you'll meet everyone in March. But we're also going to make way of helping connect you to different people based on your interest areas, your regions, where you are in your stage of your venture, so that you can actually be helping each other and learning from each other. But those are the numbers that have been the past and what we're aiming for in the future right now. All right, great questions. One more question here. Is this course focused on nonprofit only or for a for-profit too? We absolutely are agnostic about types of company business models. We work with nonprofits. We work with very large for-profit companies like IBM and Bank of America. We work for small businesses that are for-profit. We work and help advise people that run a hybrid, which is a nonprofit and for-profit. We also work with people that identify as a social enterprise. So it's about a third coming from business, for-profit backgrounds. A third are coming from the nonprofit and public service. And then I have about a third that are looking at new models of social enterprise and that are kind of for-profit and or nonprofit or hybrid. So that's kind of the breakdown of the classroom. It's about a third for each of those. I have another question here. I would like to understand how the program can translate close to 2 decades of communication and marketing experience, of which 8 have been in the social impact sector. So I want to understand if this program can help me understand career opportunities here in the US. My interests are in gender equality in public spaces. So really cool. I love the interest in gender equality in public spaces and gender equity in public spaces, how that's combined, but also very separate components. In terms of career opportunities in the United States and career opportunities in general, I want to speak to that question about this being a professional network. From day one, we're building a network of trust. People have signed up and they're committing their time and their money and their effort to be a part of this program. So you know that this is going to be a community of doers. Once we start and get you rolling on your career, on your executive program and on the content, there is an online platform in which you actually talk about things that are jobs, that are asks, that are gives. And you're beginning to build an exchange network online of ideas and including in those ideas, job opportunities. So there is an intentional effort amongst each other to shared opportunities and people asking for help. So in your case, you might state into the network, I'm looking for, opportunities and organizations that are working on gender equity in the United States, in Pittsburgh or in New York, wherever you may be. And the crowd will step up and say, I know of XYZ. You also have to remember that you're going to be joining an alumni network of over 140 executive program graduates that are hungry to help. And in the previous years, we waited for you to meet them until later. But this year, we're going to introduce you on day one. You'll certainly have your cohort that you're building these close ties with. But when it comes to resources and ideas, you can opt in to be a part of that network right away so that you get a sense of support from one another. And one of the best things that for career searchers is to put it out there and say, I'm looking for the best organizations in XYZ regions. Who do you know? And there are literally, 9 out of 10, instant responses or help coming from that. And different ways in which you can also join. There's a lot of listservs, job search listservs that our community has co-created with us that you can be a part of as well. I could share some of those resources with you if you're interested, but there are tons of ways in which people can get access to career opportunities, both with us and the internal referrals, but where are the really smart places to get information from. I can't believe it. I've gone through all of your questions, which is excellent. Oh, no, a new one has come in. I want to talk about that and then get to some of the stories of our alums. But one, are the attendants eligible for an F1 student visa full-time programs? What we do is that we offer a letter of admission from the University of Pennsylvania upon your admission into the program. And that states when the events happen at the University of Pennsylvania, so that you can go to your embassy, U.S. Embassy, wherever you are, state that you are a executive program admitted student from the University of Pennsylvania, that you have some obligations to be in the U.S. on these dates. And that's how people have been able to obtain visas. Since we are not a full-time degree program, we cannot speak to whether or not the U.S. Embassy can offer that F1 visa. We ourselves can offer the letter of support stating that you were invited to the university on these dates and that that's a part of the program, which has been very effective for almost all of our students that have required a visa. But we are not able to offer the full-time visa since we are not a full-time program. You are all awesome. Thank you for these questions. I love the diversity of them and all the different things that I didn't get to in my presentation. I want you to encourage you to keep asking more questions or make comments. As if I have missed anything, re-ask it if I have glossed over anything that you want to share. I do want to just quickly, in our remaining 10 minutes or so, share a little bit about the amazing alums of our program and a little snapshot into the diversity, I hope, of the program and where they're coming from. Jenny in this image is one story I'll share. She is a psychologist by full-time trade, but in the evenings runs an amazing nonprofit supporting people that are going through tremendous trauma in post-conflict regions like in the Congo. And she developed this nonprofit organization decades ago and came to our program seeking different ways of earned revenue models for nonprofits. How do you reinvigorate a nonprofit model to raise more funding, to be more sustainable? And in this image, she's giving her final presentation at the Alumni Summit and the graduation ceremony, stating she has more confidence on figuring out new ways of reinvigorating her organization. And along the way, she was able to share her assignments with her board. So they weren't surprised with the new direction, but were on her team throughout the 8 months. And she could really build a model that brought people on from day one. This is Taylor in this image. Taylor is shaking the hands of Dean Jackson, receiving his certificate at the graduation ceremony. And Taylor is an example of a business leader. He works at a for-profit organization that is multinational, works in all different countries, in particular because they use fresh organic materials from different parts of the world to create their essential oils. And in doing that, they need a lot of partnerships with local farmers and local producers. They are very committed to making a social impact and wanted to figure out how do they do that in a more measurable way. Taylor used these 8 months of the program to develop a social impact fund internally inside his company to figure out how can he unleash capital into the hands of the farmers and the local business leaders to come up with better ideas on improving the value chain along the way. He came up with a couple ideas, tested things out, shared it with the CEOs and the faculty, and then came back and over 8 months was really kind of had a safe space to build out his idea so that it was really stellar by the time he finally presented it at the board, and he got the funding internally to run this social impact fund. And what I love about Taylor, we're still in touch a year later, and he's nominated a bunch of people for this program. He's at the University of Oxford doing his MBA, and he told me that this program, what it did is that it helped him realize that social entrepreneurship was something he wanted to do for the rest of his life. He wants to be a business leader that understands the tools to do that and wanted to further his training even more and get his MBA after this program. And he was able to commit to that with a lot more confidence, knowing that our program gave him a lot of great tools and actually tangible experiences that he could speak to when he was applying for that program. Harish is a father, first and foremost. He is living in Virginia, and he's a father of a son with autism. He has been passionate about supporting kids with autism and families with children of autism for all of his adult life. And as an IT professional, wanted to figure out how can he bridge the gap of his personal career in IT with also supporting his son, who is incredibly talented as an artist as well. So Harish was building a nonprofit organization to support educational experiences in the arts for children with autism and to support parents on figuring out how they can also encourage their kids to participate in that way. And during this program, Harish started to open his thinking around different business models that might make this company more sustainable. And throughout the 8 months, he discussed and contemplated and got feedback on a hybrid business model that will allow for him to have one company that is the nonprofit training arm for the art school and another part that is the for-profit business model. And I'm really excited to see Harish in this story because he was actively asking the hows and what do I do. He was very passionate about this issue, and he was very flexible and very open to lots of new ideas, and was able to also collaborate with other classmates that had different skill sets that he didn't, folks in marketing, folks in social enterprise. And he built an advisory board just by virtue of his classmates helping him because he was so passionate about this idea. And we helped him on figuring out the how. This is an image of Chris. Chris is a graduate of the May 2015 course, and he's an example of a social impact educator. So he's a professor at the University of Wilmington, Delaware, and he used this class as an opportunity for him to expand his thinking around social entrepreneurship and social enterprise. He came from a different background in community organizing, loves teaching, and was brought on at the University of Wilmington to think about course design. He took our course as a way to learn about how might he structure online learning courses for his students at the university, but also how can he get these tools, these robust tools, and actually repurpose them and reteach them for his students in his context. And what I really love about that is that for us, the tools and the experiences that we're sharing with you, we want you to go out there in the world and apply them to make the difference you want. And we also want you to galvanize communities of practice around you. And how can you, if you're a CEO of a company, share this with your staff? If you're somebody that's trying to get other employees engaged, how might you use this as a great conversational piece? We want to equip you to be an agent of change and to amplify the impact by taking these tools and taking your own experience with them to connect with people and to actually have tangible results that come out of that. So I want to end this webinar, still leaving a couple more minutes for questions, with a quote that is painted on our walls at the center. We believe that anyone, anywhere can drive change. It's up to us to make it happen. There's no time than now to step up to make a difference in the world. You don't have to do it alone. We can do it together. We could be there to help you be smarter and more effective by asking a lot of questions of you early, and to also give you a lot of new ideas to expand your thinking now, so that you can then start to figure out what are the tactics to making it more effective. We've worked with people in business. We've worked with people running amazing organizations in the nonprofit and social enterprise space. And we're working with people that are really transforming the landscape of impact. And we want you, if you're excited by this webinar, if you're excited about some of the stuff I talked about, feel free to schedule a one-on-one call if you have any doubts still, or you just want to connect with me personally. There's a link, and we're available throughout the weekend. You can also download the view book or the course catalog. You can also put your email inside the chat if you'd like to receive a download of this webinar again. If you want to receive this specific webinar or the course catalog, anything that you want, I'd be happy to follow up with you directly. You can directly chat it to me directly, so that you can keep your email private if you like, or if you just put it in the chat, I'm sure that's fine too. And then remember that the application deadline is November 20, which is Sunday. So it's not too far away, but it's definitely doable. The application, again, is not meant to be a hurdle. It's meant to be the beginning of a conversation. Who are you? What do you want to accomplish? And what are some of the questions that you're asking? And what is the change you want to see in the world? I'm here to take your questions. I'm here to be of support to you for the few more moments that we have left. Thank you from all corners of the earth for signing on today and being a part of the webinar. I hope it was valuable use of your time. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you got your questions answered. I hope that you learned something today that you can take with you. And I hope you join. I sincerely do. I hope you are part of this community, and that this program can be of help to you and your journey for making change.